Freestyle wrestling is a style of amateur wrestling that is practiced throughout the world. Along with Greco-Roman, it is one of the two styles of wrestling contested in the Olympic Games. American high school and college wrestling is conducted under different rules and is termed scholastic and collegiate wrestling. Freestyle wrestling, like collegiate wrestling, has its greatest origins in catch-as-catch-can wrestling, and, in both styles, the ultimate goal is to throw and pin your opponent to the mat, which results in an immediate win. Freestyle and collegiate wrestling, unlike Greco-Roman, allow the use of the wrestler's or his opponent's legs in offense and defense. Freestyle wrestling is the most complete style of stand-up wrestling and brings together traditional wrestling, judo, and sambo techniques. According to wrestling's world governing body, United World Wrestling, freestyle wrestling is one of the four main forms of amateur competitive wrestling that are practiced internationally today. The other main forms of wrestling are Greco-Roman and grappling. The Executive Board of the International Olympic Committee recommended dropping wrestling as a sport from the 2020 Olympic Games, but the decision was later reversed by the IOC. History. Modern freestyle wrestling, according to UWW, is said to have originated in Great Britain and the United States by the name of catch-as-catch-can wrestling. Catch-as-catch-can wrestling had a particular following in Great Britain, and the variant developed in Lancashire had a particular effect on freestyle wrestling. Catch-as-catch-can wrestling gained great popularity in fairs and festivals during the 19th century. In catch-as-catch-can wrestling, both contestants started out standing and then a wrestler sought to hold his opponent's shoulder to the ground. If no fall was scored, both wrestlers continued grappling on the ground, and almost all holds and techniques were allowable. A Scottish variant of Lancashire wrestling also became popular, which began with both wrestlers standing chest to chest, grasping each other with locked arms around the body, and, if no fall was made, with the match continuing on the ground. Also, there was the Irish collar and elbow style, where wrestlers started out on the feet with both wrestlers grasping each other by the collar with one hand and by the elbow with the other. If neither wrestler then achieved a fall, the contestants would continue both standing and on the ground until a fall was made. Irish immigrants later brought this style of wrestling to the United States, where it soon became widespread, especially because of the success of the wrestling champion of the Army of the Potomac, George William Flagg from Vermont. Catch-as-catch-can was the style performed by at least a half-dozen U.S. presidents, including George Washington, Zachary Taylor, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, and Theodore Roosevelt. Because of the widespread interest in and esteem of professional Greco-Roman wrestling and its popularity in many international meets in 19th century Europe, freestyle wrestling had a tough time gaining ground on the continent. The 1896 Olympic Games had only one wrestling bout, a heavyweight Greco-Roman match. Freestyle wrestling first emerged as an Olympic sport in the St. Louis Olympics of 1904. All 40 wrestlers who participated in the 1904 Olympics were American. The 1904 Olympics sanctioned the rules commonly used for catch-as-catch-can, but imposed some restrictions on dangerous holds. Wrestling by 7 weight classes: 47.6 kilograms, 52.2 kilograms, 56.7 kilograms, 61.2 kilograms, 65.3 kilograms, 71.7 kilograms, and greater than 71 1.7 kilograms was an important innovation in the Summer Olympics. Since 1921, the International Federation of Associated Wrestling Styles, which has its headquarters near Lausanne, Switzerland, has set the rules of the game, with regulations for scoring and procedures that govern tournaments such as the World Games and the competition at the Summer Olympics. These were later adopted by the Amateur Athletic Union for its freestyle matches. Freestyle wrestling gained great popularity in the United States after the Civil War. By the 1880s, tournaments drew hundreds of wrestlers. The rise of cities, increased industrialization, and the closing of the frontier provided the affable environment for amateur wrestling, along with boxing, to increase in esteem and popularity. Amateur wrestling teams soon emerged, such as the wrestling team of the New York Athletic Club, which had its first tournament in 1878. Professional wrestling also developed, and by the 1870s, professional championship matches offered allowances of up to $1,000. 19th-century wrestling matches were particularly long, and especially Greco-Roman bouts could last as many as 8 to 9 hours, and even then, it was only decided by a draw. In the 20th century, time limits were set for matches. For more than 40 years into the 20th century, freestyle and its American counterpart, collegiate wrestling, did not have a scoring system that decided matches in the absence of a fall. The introduction of a point system by Oklahoma State University wrestling coach Art Griffith that gained acceptance in 1941 influenced the international styles as well. By the 1960s, international wrestling matches in Greco-Roman and freestyle were scored by a panel of 3 judges in secret, who made the final decision by raising colored paddles at the match's end. Dr. Albert De Ferrari from San Francisco, who became vice president of FILA, lobbied for a visible scoring system and a rule for controlled fall, which would recognize a fall only when the offensive wrestler had done something to cause it. These were soon adopted internationally in Greco-Roman and freestyle. By 1996, before a major overhaul of FILA rules, an international freestyle match consisted of 2 3-minute periods, with a 1-minute rest between periods. Today, wrestlers from post-Soviet states, Iran, U.S., Bulgaria, Cuba, Turkey, and Japan, have had the strongest showings. Alexander Medvedev, Belarus, won 10 world championships and 3 Olympic gold medals in the period of 1964 to 1972. Many collegiate wrestlers have moved on to freestyle competition, particularly internationally, with great success. In the spring of 2013, the International Olympic Committee voted wrestling out of the core sports for the Summer Olympics beginning in 2020. As a result of this news, the wrestling community started a massive campaign in order to reinstate the sport. A largely online group called 2020 Vision lead the movement. They had several campaigns as well as Facebook and Twitter pages that spread awareness and gathered support for the cause of wrestling's return to the Olympics. They had a mission of gaining 2,020,000 signatures in support of wrestling's return to the Olympic Games. In September 2013, the IOC voted to allow wrestling back into the Olympics for 2020 and 2024 as a probationary sport. In order to achieve this, FILA, the international governing body of wrestling, made several changes to the rules as well as changes to the weight classes. There are also discussions about uniform changes as well as changes to the competition mat. Weight classes. Currently, international men's freestyle wrestling is divided into 6 main age categories: schoolboys, cadets, novice, juvenile, juniors, and seniors. Schoolboys wrestle in 10 weight classes ranging from 29 to 85 kilograms. Cadets wrestle in 10 weight classes ranging from 39 to 100 kilograms. Juniors wrestle in 8 weight classes ranging from 46 to 120 kilograms. Seniors wrestle in 7 weight classes ranging from 50 to 120 kilograms. For men, there is also a special category for some freestyle competitions, veterans, for men ages 35 and older, presumably featuring the same weight classes as seniors. Also, all of the men's age categories and weight classes can be applied to Greco-Roman wrestling. Women currently compete in freestyle wrestling in one of 4 age categories on an international level: schoolgirls, cadets, juniors, and seniors. Schoolgirls wrestle in 10 weight classes ranging from 28 to 62 kilograms. Cadets wrestle in 10 weight classes ranging from 36 to 70 kilograms. Juniors wrestle in 8 weight classes ranging from 40 to 72 kilograms. Seniors wrestle in 7 weight classes ranging from 44 to 72 kilograms. Wrestlers after weigh-in may only wrestle in their own weight class. Wrestlers in the senior age category may wrestle up a weight class except for the heavyweight division for the men and more than 67 kilograms for the women. Different nations may have different weight classes and different age categories for the levels of freestyle competition. Structure of the tournament. A typical international wrestling tournament takes place by direct elimination with an ideal number of wrestlers in each weight class and age category competing for placement. The competition in each weight class takes place in one day. The day before the wrestling in a scheduled weight class and age category takes place, all the applicable wrestlers are examined by a physician and weighed in. Each wrestler, after being weighed on the scale, then draws a token randomly that gives a certain number. If an ideal number is not reached to begin elimination rounds, a qualification round will take place to eliminate the excess number of wrestlers. For example, 22 wrestlers may weigh in over the ideal number of 16 wrestlers. The 6 wrestlers who drew the highest numbers after 16 and the 6 wrestlers who drew the 6 numbers immediately before 17 would then wrestle in 6 matches in the qualification round. The winners of those matches would then go on to the elimination round. In the elimination round or blood round, the ideal number of wrestlers then pair off and compete in matches until 2 victors emerge who will compete in the finals for first and second place. All of the wrestlers who lost to the 2 finalists then have the chance to wrestle in a replay round. The replay round begins with the wrestlers who lost to the 2 finalists at the lowest level of competition in the elimination round. The matches are paired off by the wrestlers who lost to one finalist and the wrestlers who lost to the other. The 2 wrestlers who win after every level of competition are the victors of the replay round. In the finals, the 2 victors of the elimination round compete for first and second place. In all rounds of the tournament, the wrestlers compete in matches paired off in the order of the numbers they drew after the weigh-in. After the finals match, the award ceremony will take place. The first place and second place wrestlers will receive a gold and silver medal, respectively. The 2 replay round winners will each be awarded third place with a bronze medal. The 2 wrestlers who lost in the finals for the third place are awarded 5th place. From 7th place down, the wrestlers are ranked according to the classification points earned for the victories or losses. If there is a tie among wrestlers for classification points, the ranking is determined in this order from the highest to the lowest. Most victories earned by fall. Most matches won by technical superiority. Most periods won by technical superiority. Most points scored in the tournament. least points scored in the tournament. Wrestlers who remain tied after that will be awarded placements (XAQUO). Wrestlers classified from the 5th to the 10th place will receive a special diploma. The wrestling tournaments in the Olympic Games and the Senior and Junior World Championships are designed to take place over 3 days on 3 mats. Layout of the mat. The match takes place on a thick rubber mat that is shock-absorbing to ensure safety. For the Olympic Games, all World Championships, and World Cups, the mat has to be new. The main wrestling area has a 9-meter diameter and is surrounded by a 1.5-metre border of the same thickness known as the protection area. Inside the 9-meter in diameter circle is a red band of 1 meter in width that is on the outer edge of the circle and is known as the red zone. The red zone is used to help indicate passivity on the part of a wrestler. Thus, it is also known as the passivity zone. Inside the red zone is the central wrestling area, which is 7 meters in diameter. In the middle of the central surface of wrestling is the central circle, which is 1 meter in diameter. The central circle is surrounded by a band 10 centimeters wide and is divided in half by a red line 8 centimeters in width. The diagonally opposite corners of the mat are marked with the wrestlers' colors, red and blue. For competition in the Olympic Games, the World Championships, and the Continental Championships, the mat is installed on a platform no greater than 1.1 meters in height. If the mat lies on a podium and the protection margin does not reach 2 meters, the sides of the podium are covered with 45 degrees inclined panels. In all cases, the color of the protection area is different from the color of the mat. Equipment. A singlet is a one-piece wrestling garment made of spandex that should provide a tight and comfortable fit for the wrestler. It is made from nylon or lycra and prevents an opponent from using anything on the wrestler as leverage. One wrestler usually competes in a red singlet and the other in a blue singlet. A special pair of shoes is worn by the wrestler to increase his mobility and flexibility. Wrestling shoes are light and flexible in order to provide maximum comfort and movement. Usually made with rubber soles, they help give the wrestler's feet a better grip on the mat. A handkerchief, also called a blood rag, is carried in the singlet. In the event of bleeding, the wrestler will remove the cloth from his singlet and attempt to stop the bleeding or clean up any bodily fluids that may have gotten onto the mat. Headgear, equipment worn around the ears to protect the wrestler, is optional in freestyle. Headgear is omitted at the participant's own risk, as there is the potential to develop cauliflower ear. The match. A match is a competition between two individual wrestlers of the same weight class. In freestyle wrestling, a jury of 3 officials is used. The referee controls the action in the center, blowing the whistle to start and stop the action, and supervises the scoring of holds and infractions. The judge sits at the side of the mat, keeps score, and occasionally gives his approval when needed by the referee for various decisions. The mat chairman sits at the scoring table, keeps time, is responsible for declaring technical superiority, and supervises the work of the referee and judge. To call a fall, 2 of the 3 officials must agree. Session format in Greco-Roman and Freestyle. The format is 2 3-minute sessions. Before each match, each wrestler's name is called, and the wrestler takes his place at the corner of the mat assigned to his color. The referee then calls both of them to his side at the center of the mat, shakes hands with them, inspects their apparel, and checks for any perspiration, oil, particularly greasy substances, and any other infractions. The two wrestlers then greet each other, shake hands, and the referee blows his whistle to start the session. A wrestler wins the match when he has outscored his opponent at the end of the 2 3-minute sessions. For example, if one competitor were to score 4 points in the first session and his opponent 2, and then 2 in the second session, his opponent 0, the competitor would win. Only a fall, injury, default, or disqualification terminates the match. All other modes of victory result only in session termination. In freestyle, if no wrestler scores in 2 minutes, the referee of the match will then identify the more passive wrestler, and that wrestler will be given a 30-second window of opportunity to score, and if he doesn't, then his opponent will be awarded a point. When the session has concluded, the referee stands at the center of the mat facing the officials' table. Both wrestlers then approach each other, shake hands, and stand on either side of the referee to await the decision. The referee then proclaims the winner by raising the winner's hand. At the end of the match, each wrestler then shakes hands with the referee and returns to shake hands with his opponent's coach. Match scoring. In freestyle wrestling, as well as in Greco-Roman wrestling, points are awarded mostly on the basis of explosive action and risk. For example, when one wrestler performs a grand amplitude throw that brings his opponent into the danger position, he is awarded the greatest number of points that can be scored in one instance. Also, a wrestler who takes the risk to briefly roll on the mat could give a certain number of points to his opponent. Scoring can be accomplished in the following ways. Takedown. A wrestler is awarded points for a takedown when the wrestler gains control over his opponent on the mat from a neutral position. At least 3 points of contact have to be controlled on the mat. 5 points are awarded for a takedown brought about by a throw of grand amplitude either from the standing apart air position into a direct hand, immediate danger position. Generally, 3 points are awarded for a takedown brought about by a short amplitude throw that does not bring his opponent in a direct and immediate danger position, for a takedown in which a wrestler's opponent is taken from his feet to his stomach to his back aside so that he is in the danger position. 2 points are awarded for a takedown brought about by a wrestler taking his opponent from his feet to his stomach aside such that his back or shoulders are not exposed to the mat, and while in this position holding him down with control. Reversal. A wrestler is awarded 1 point for a reversal when the wrestler gains control over his opponent from a defensive position. Exposure, also called the danger position. A wrestler is awarded points for exposure when the wrestler exposes his opponent's back to the mat for several seconds. Points for exposure are also awarded if one's back is to the mat but the wrestler is not pinned. Criteria for exposure of the danger position is met when 1. A wrestler's opponent is in a bridge position to avoid being pinned. 2. A wrestler's opponent is on one or both elbows with his back to the mat and avoids getting pinned. 3. A wrestler holds one of his opponent's shoulders to the mat and the other shoulder at an acute angle. 4. A wrestler's opponent is in an instantaneous fall position. Or 5. The wrestler's opponent rolls on his shoulders. A wrestler in the danger position allows his opponent to score 2 points. An additional hold-down point may be earned by maintaining the exposure continuously for 5 seconds. Penalty. Under the 2004-2005 changes to the international styles, a wrestler whose opponent takes an injury timeout receives 1 point unless the injured wrestler is bleeding. Other infractions are penalized by an award of either 1 or 2 points, a caution, and a choice of position to the opponent. A wrestler whose opponent regularly refuses to take an ordered hold is awarded a point. Out out of bounds. Whenever a wrestler places his foot in the protection area, the match is stopped, and 1 point is awarded to his opponent. Passivity. A point awarded to the attacking wrestler whose opponent flees. The holder refuses to start. Classification points are also awarded in an international wrestling tournament, which give most points to the winner and in some cases, 1 point to the loser depending on the outcome of the match and how the victory was attained. For example, a victory by fall would give the winner 5 classification points and the loser no points, while a match won by technical superiority with the loser scoring technical points would award 3 points to the winner and 1 point to loser. The full determinations for scoring are found on pages 34 to 40 of the FILA International Wrestling Rules. Victory conditions. A match can be won in the following ways. Win by fall. The object of the entire wrestling match is to attain victory by what is known as the fall. A fall, also known as a pin, occurs when one wrestler holds both of his opponent's shoulders on the mat simultaneously. In Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling, the 2 shoulders of the defensive wrestler must be held long enough for the referee to observe the total control of the fall. Then either the judge or the match chairman concurs with the referee that a fall is made. A fall ends the match entirely regardless of when it occurs. Win by technical superiority. If at any point during the match a wrestler gains a 10-point lead over his opponent, the wrestler would win the match by technical fall. Win by decision. If neither wrestler achieves either a fall or technical superiority, the wrestler who scored more points during match is declared the winner. Win by default. If one wrestler is unable to continue participating for any reason or fails to show up on the mat after his name was called 3 times before the match begins, his opponent is declared the winner of the match by default, forfeit, or withdrawal. Win by injury. If one wrestler is injured and unable to continue, the other wrestler is declared the winner. This is also referred to as a medical forfeit or injury default. The term also encompasses situations where wrestlers become ill, take too many injury timeouts, or bleed uncontrollably. If a wrestler is injured by his opponent's illegal maneuver and cannot continue, the wrestler at fault is disqualified. Win by disqualification. Normally, if a wrestler is assessed 3 cautions for breaking the rules, he is disqualified. Under other circumstances, such as flagrant brutality, the match may be ended immediately and the wrestler disqualified and removed from the tournament. Team scoring in tournaments. In an international wrestling tournament, teams enter 1 wrestler at each weight class and score points based on the individual performances. For example, if a wrestler at the 60 kg weight class finishes in first place, then his team will receive 10 points. If he were to finish in 10th place, then the team would only receive 1. At the end of the tournament, each team's score is tallied, and the team with the most points wins the team competition. Team competition. A team competition, a dual meet, is a meeting between teams in which individual wrestlers at a given weight class compete against each other. A team receives 1 point for each victory in a weight class regardless of the outcome. The team that scores the most points at the end of the match wins the team competition. If there are 2 sets of competitions with one team winning the home competition and one winning the away competition, a third competition may take place to determine the winner for ranking purposes, or the ranking may take place by assessing in order 1. The most victories by adding the points of the 2 matches, 2. The most points by fall, default, forfeit, or disqualification, 3. The most matches won by technical superiority, 4. The most periods won by technical superiority, 5. The most technical points won in all the competition, 6. The least technical points won in all the competition. This works similarly when more than 2 teams are involved in this predicament.